So here's the story that's making everybody freeze mid-scroll. A woman named Cathy White, once rumored to be romantically tied to Jay-Z, passed away under mysterious circumstances, and now there's talk that she may have actually been the real mother of Blue Ivy. Yeah, that Blue Ivy. And the woman everyone thought was the Queen of Calm, Beyoncé, is being whispered about as possibly having something to do with it all. Let's unpack how we got here and why this whole thing is more than just another internet theory. Cathy White was stunning, ambitious, and unapologetically bold about the kind of men she dated. Only the top-tier multimillionaire types. That alone would have put her in the orbit of men like Jay-Z. But the timeline? Oof. That's what gets real murky. Around the time Beyoncé publicly announced she was expecting Blue Ivy, Cathy had just done an interview, an exclusive one, about her alleged affair with Jay. And then just like that, she was gone. A brain aneurysm was the official story. But what 20-something just dropped dead from that out of nowhere? The questions didn't stop there. Her friend Claudia Jordan, yes, the same Claudia who's been tangled up in all kinds of high-profile gossip herself, claimed Cathy had a boyfriend named Malcolm when she died. But nobody's ever found him, he's never spoken out, never defended Cathy, never confirmed or denied her being pregnant, nothing. And let's be real, if your girlfriend passes away under strange circumstances, and she was supposedly pregnant with either your baby or Jay-Z's, wouldn't you say something? Unless, of course, you couldn't. Or you were paid not to. Then there's the whole fake pregnancy saga. People have never stopped talking about how Beyoncé's baby bump seemed to fold during a TV interview. Folded, like a prop. The footage went viral, and even though she said it was just the fabric, many weren't buying it. The timing, even messier. Cathy would have been in her second trimester right around the time Beyoncé made that now famous TV appearance with the bump, and Blue Ivy's birth was accompanied by next-level secrecy. Hospital lockdowns, floors cleared out like the president was visiting, and no real confirmation of who was in that delivery room. Now, here's where the rabbit hole goes even deeper. There's been buzz for years that Beyoncé used a surrogate. It's never been publicly confirmed, but multiple reports, even from people who claim to be insiders, say that her health complications made it difficult for her to carry a child to term, and if that's true, and Cathy really was pregnant around the same time, the theory starts to form, was Blue Ivy actually Cathy's child? People who've been following this since day one also bring up Liz Crokin, a former reporter who was investigating the Cathy J affair. She said Cathy was ready to go public, but just days after talking about it, she was dead. Liz said she felt discouraged from pursuing the story further. Her editor didn't want to run it. The whole thing got buried. And buried is the key word here. Because while people have moved on, new voices keep bringing it up. Jaguar Wright, bloggers, even former insiders, they all say the same thing. There's something off. Something about Cathy's death doesn't add up. And now they're even dissecting Beyoncé's lyrics for clues. Yup, lyrics. That one track off her new album. It reads less like poetry and more like a confession, if you look close enough. But if Cathy's really the mother, where's the proof? Why hasn't anyone come forward? Why hasn't Malcolm spoken? And most chilling, what if he never will? Here's the twist that's sending shockwaves through every comment section. People are starting to think it wasn't Jay-Z who silenced Cathy White. It was Beyoncé. That's the claim now bubbling to the surface. Not some random internet theory either. A voice in the gossip trenches dropped the line straight. The person who unalived Cathy White was a woman. And when you start lining up the dots, that woman might just be Queen Bey herself. See, for years, people pointed fingers at Jay-Z. He had the motive, alleged affair, potential baby, a woman about to go public and wreck his perfect billionaire image. But that might have been the perfect misdirection. If Beyoncé found out about the affair, and worse, that Cathy was carrying Jay's child, it wouldn't be hard to imagine her reaching a breaking point, especially if she was already battling her own fertility issues and watching this woman threaten everything she built: reputation, marriage, legacy, baby. The rumor mill says Beyoncé didn't just find out, she handled it. According to whispers from insiders, Cathy was asking for millions from Jay-Z. Not hush money, leverage. That kind of bold move, it could have forced Beyoncé's hand. One source even suggested that Cathy had documentation, something real. And if that's true, removing her wouldn't just be personal, it'd be strategic. Then there's the song lyrics, that haunting track from Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter album. It's got people raising eyebrows. Lines like, "Your body laid out on these filthy floors," and "Your bloodstains on my custom couture" don't exactly sound like random metaphor. Fans swear it's a confession in plain sight. One lyric in particular chills people. "I really tried to stay cool, but your arrogance disturbed my solitude." That doesn't sound like a diss track. That sounds like a diary entry after something irreversible. And then there's Claudia Jordan, somehow always circling this story but never really giving anything solid. She once said Cathy was with her boyfriend Malcolm at the time of her death. But nobody's seen Malcolm. No photos, no interviews, nothing. Either he doesn't exist or he was buried in silence right alongside Cathy's story. And Coy, every time the heat turns up, she changes her tune. First, she's nodding along to the foul play narrative, then suddenly she's yelling that people are lying and she never knew Cathy like that. But screenshots exist. Old tweets, subtle likes, shady reposts, she knew something. There's also the Vegas connection. Multiple people confirmed that Cathy was in Vegas at a party where Jay-Z and Diddy were both present. Claudia herself said it. But then, when asked about Jay and Cathy flirting or even acknowledging each other, she goes full denial mode. Says Jay barely looked their way, acts like nothing happened. But that kind of robotic denial makes things more suspicious. It's not just the words, it's how hard she tries to convince people she was uninvolved. Like she's been told exactly what to say. Some even claim Koila's silence wasn't voluntary, that something did happen to her, but it was covered up as a drunk accident. A little fall, some bruises, nothing serious. Until you dig deeper and realize there was talk of her life being threatened, that she knew too much, that Jay-Z paid her to stay quiet. Whether that's true or not, it's weird how she's never stuck to one story. And now, with people dragging Malcolm's name out of thin air and poking holes in every statement Claudia's ever made, the question gets louder. Was Cathy White silenced to keep the biggest lie in music history alive? And if Blue Ivy really isn't Beyoncé's biological child, who else was paid to make sure that truth never sees the light? It all comes back to that hospital, the one Beyoncé allegedly gave birth in, except no one could get in. Whole floors were cleared, security was tighter than the White House, nurses were shuffled around, visitors were denied, staff were told to act like royalty had checked in, and yet nobody ever really saw her go in pregnant or walk out with a newborn. Just vague photos, private exits, and layers of mystery so thick you couldn't cut through it with a knife. The official story says Blue Ivy was born on January 7, 2012 at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, but insiders have always said the whole event felt staged. It was like the hospital got rented out not for a celebrity birth, but for a production. Beyoncé's bump folding on national television only added fuel to the fire. That moment made even her most loyal fans squint sideways. And what should have been a celebration turned into a decades-long debate. Now toss in Cathy's timeline. People who knew her said she was pregnant around the same time Beyoncé announced hers, and if you match the months, it lines up way too perfectly. Second trimester? Check. Due date? Practically overlaps. Motive? Right there in plain sight. It's the kind of overlap you can't ignore, unless you're being paid to ignore it. Then you've got Jaguar Wright, who's been blowing the whistle on industry secrets for years. She's the one who said flat out, it wasn't Jay-Z who handled Cathy, it was a woman, and Jaguar's never been afraid to say Beyoncé's name. She's also hinted that Claudia Jordan knew a lot more than she let on, and that Cathy was asking for serious money, like I'm carrying your man's baby kind of money, and when the money didn't come fast enough, she started talking. That's when the weird coincidences started to pile up. The sudden aneurysm, the conflicting stories, the rushed funeral, no deep dive autopsy, no public grief from anyone involved, just silence. Like everyone got a memo that said, shut this down, and so they did. But what really keeps this story alive is Blue Ivy herself. Every time she's seen in public, someone says she looks like Cathy. Not a little, a lot. Side-by-side photos have made the rounds for years, and people swear the resemblance is eerie. Jawline, eyes, smile, it's all there. And if Beyoncé didn't carry her, the question becomes, who did? Surrogacy isn't some scandal, plenty of celebrities do it. But hiding it? Lying about it? That's where things get dark. And if someone lost their life over keeping that lie intact, it's no longer just gossip, it's a cover-up, a big one. The kind that only works if every player stays in line, which might explain why Claudia Jordan's tune keeps changing, or why Malcolm never spoke, or why Cathy's story was buried so fast the ink hadn't even dried. Even Beyoncé's twins, Sir and Rumi, came with complications. She opened up about preeclampsia, an emergency C-section, and gaining over 200 pounds. That honesty made people more suspicious about the first pregnancy. Why would someone with so many physical struggles pretend to carry a child they didn't? Unless the truth threatened more than her public image. Maybe it threatened her marriage, her empire, her identity. If Cathy White really was carrying Jay-Z's child, and if that child is now being raised as Beyoncé's daughter, then what we're looking at isn't just a tragic story, it's one of the biggest deceptions the music industry's ever seen. And if the people involved went as far as silencing Cathy to make sure the truth never came out, then the final question becomes how many others knew and stayed silent.